Hey everybody, welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture. I am your host, Andrew Davis. And obviously this episode is brought to you by my sponsor, which is my very own t-shirt. Go buy my t-shirt. I need the money badly. It is making fun of Gundam, Taco Bell, the most interesting man in the world. It's an awesome t-shirt. You get it in 16 colors and in a mini skirt, which I approve. And I'm not going to bore you with the rest of my sponsorships here because I do have with me Airborne Alex Anthony, who is a professional wrestler. So welcome back to the show, man.
Appreciate. Hold on, you said that's available in a mini skirt as well? Is that what you said?
Yes, I fought hard for that, and I fought, to the death on it in many ways because, in the great words of Roy Mustang, when I become Fuhrer, the military is going to institute the entire miniskirt policy. That's all I'm going to say. It's an FMA joke, everybody, but yes, it is available in a miniskirt.
Interesting.
I mean, if somebody wants to wear my logo and my beautiful T-shirt that I outsourced on a miniskirt, I am perfectly fine with that. But welcome back to the show.
I appreciate it, Andrew. Good to be back.
I'm excited, and obviously you got a lot of stuff going on. Before we really get into talking about comic books and everything, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you, because you were back on about a year ago, and we're not going to talk anything wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah, at all.
All right. Well, that's what I do for a living. Airborne Alex Anthony. Been a professional wrestler for 18 years now, full time. Wrestled all over the place. Uh, Military veteran. Served 3 years in the United States Army. Was in the 82nd Airborne. I was Field Artillery, 13 Bravo, and yeah, that's where we're at now.
Yeah, and you're known for wrestling in places like Rocky Mountain Pro, Canadian Wrestling Entertainment, and there's a few others. You've done Zero One, you've done a little bit of thing in New Japan as well, and a variety of
No
other.
New Japan, just 0-1.
There's Zero One, my bad.
Yeah,
I'm getting ahead of
yeah.
things here. But you've done Zero One, and you've also done a few other promotions in and around that people know of, as well as also ECWA as well is another big one that you've wrestled for across your entire career. But I don't want to talk about wrestling because obviously you're recouping from an injury that you've been out for a while, so you haven't been much on the scene. But I do want to talk about comics because you have a bunch of comic stuff in the background.
Yeah. I got a couple of figures I'm into. Right now, I'm into to like I said, like last time I'm into the X-Men. That's my favorite group, I guess.
So let's talk about the X-Men because obviously the X-Men are getting very interesting. As far as obviously, I think they did the blue line, they did the gold line. They had something in between. I know that they just said goodbye to like an X-Men character. I think Marvel did. But the big thing that's coming out is they're reviving X-Men 97.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can't wait for that one.
So I am not as versed, and I remember X-Men '97, and it was a little bit before my time. But obviously, I went backwards. But what I don't know, what are they going back to '97 and doing it in the '97 style, or are they doing it in a hybrid, like sort of like '97 meets 2022? Because that's where I get confused with Disney, Marvel, and all that stuff.
Right. Well, from what I've heard and read online, and like I said, I'm not in the industry or nothing. So I'm just going off of the rumors and what the studios are reporting. But it seems that they're just gonna continue the storyline from the 1992 animated series. I think it finished in '97, and then yeah, they're gonna pick it up. And because I never read the actual comic books that they had, because I know that they had a comic book run that was X-Men '97 that just basically continued from where the animated series left off. So and then yes, it seems like I believe the animation style is going to be very very similar to the old style.
Because this is where I get confused because it's always tricky when they do something like this, and I'm always freaked out because, again, I remember X-Men Evolution, and I remember
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and I've seen X-Men when it began in '92. I also remember the video game that was sort of in association with it, and then obviously, I mean, the X-Men to me are sort of the quintessential Marvel characters. where there's somebody for everybody in the X-Men. And also, unlike the Avengers, the X-Men aren't clean the same way the Avengers are. So, I mean, what is this like for you though? Because like you're an X-Men guy, and obviously Hasbro is releasing toys, and all this toy stuff's coming in, both on a collecting level and even just going back. Because I'm 29, so I wasn't born when this stuff started coming out, and but obviously you're a lot older than me,
I
and
would
that,
say, I mean, goddamn. No, I'm 38. I'm 38. But yeah, it was like I said, I didn't get into the X-Men until the animated series came out for the most part. I mean, I remember the arcade game when that came out, and that was, everybody loved that, but there wasn't any representation on television for the X-Men. So like I said, I wasn't big into comic books back then. So when the animated series came out, man, I was all the way dialed in when that came out. And I remember it used to come on Fox every day right after school, and then, I was there for every episode. And again, I remember back then too. That was the first time that I can remember where the cartoon was an actual storyline, and the one episode would continue on from the previous episode, and that's where they led up to that famous last or previously on X-Men intro on most of the episodes.
yeah, and let's even talk about that as well, because obviously comic books have always been sort of a subculture, and I never got beat up in high school for reading a comic book or for playing Pokemon or for doing anything nerdy, but definitely people weren't not thrilled with it, but they weren't against it. And so during my understanding is that everybody was watching this X-Men cartoon. And it was sort of cool to watch it. And my understanding, it was kind of like if you came into school and said, "Oh, did you see the last episode of X-Men?" It was kind of like, "Oh man, it was a qualifier to some degree."
It's funny. I never thought about that until you said that. Yeah, I do remember like the kids that read comic books. They'll get maybe a little bit hard over time than everybody else. But yeah, when the cartoon came out, everybody was into that. You if you missed it, yeah, you were the weird one.
And so, because I remember getting, shit for lack of a better word, and then now, especially because I was like collecting Pokemon cards back when I was like in eighth grade, ninth grade, in high school, I was playing Magic the Gathering, and all that stuff's worth money, and I have all that stuff, and people are like, "Oh man, I want this," and they may or may not be selling some of it for a good chunk of change.
I mean, that's what nostalgia does, right? I mean, that's exactly the reason why they're bringing the X-Men show back on Disney Plus, is tugging at those nostalgia heartstrings.
And so and even going further, because obviously I didn't watch it when it was live and when it was airing, so I don't remember, because obviously 92 it was coming out, and then in all the way through 97 I was like 4 in 97. And so what was this like, really having, I guess, the first comic book show and having characters appearing on a television screen, because this was before X1 came out and X2 and then X3, and really before all the Marvel stuff started hitting the movies.
But I think they still had like I think the Iron Man animated show was out around the same time. I think there was a Fantastic Four animated. Like there was a couple, but the X-Men one, that was the one that I like, was that and Batman the animated series. I remember being like the two most popular, the two that dominated for the most part. But
Oh yeah, I remember Batman the animated series. I remember that, and then I remember Batman Beyond too, because that was like almost like a predecessor or a successor, not a predecessor, but
now,
successor.
do you remember the original Batman the animated series, or do you remember the new adventures of Batman and Robin?
So I remember the adventures more.
Yeah. See that one I remember they said was geared more towards little kids, where they had Robin was actually like a younger version of Robin, and he was forced to be in more episodes and more storylines. But I preferred the original. To me, the original was more darker, and it was more the storylines were a little more mature, even though kids would understand it, but even adults could see the deeper meaning on some of the episodes.
I mean, I've seen it, and then obviously I've read the continuation in the comic books,
Right.
because they brought that back into the comic books, and I thought that was actually a very cool move, because it's technically not canon as far as the entire DCU, but it also is not canon, where it could fit in perfectly and it goes in that darker vein.
Right.
And it goes into the Paul Dini and that entire thing, and sort of has, I guess, a Nightmare Before Christmas vibe to it as well, of darkness and all that. Sort of, I guess, shadows, for lack of a better word. And you don't know what's going to pop out of the shadows, which is
Right.
such a very cool thing that they've done. And then I really like the fact that they redid, Batman Adventures and Batman animation later on. And that also was darker as well. Back, like, I think maybe I was like 17 when they did that, and that was fascinating in a lot of ways.
Yes, yeah, I fell off right around the time when they switched over because I believe the new adventures, I believe that switched like networks like WB or something like that. It changed from Fox and the animation style changed and yeah, it wasn't the same for me. And then I saw they continued with him into like Justice League with that same style and everything. It wasn't for me. It wasn't as dark for me.
So let me ask you a question, because this is actually super interesting. So I grew up as a WB kid. So I grew up watching, Pokemon was on WB. Then you had things like Static Shock, and you had Batman on WB, and then you had some Justice League stuff, and then you had like this weird show with Zeta, and then you had like Roblox
Yeah,
Cubics. Like,
yeah. See, but then around that time, that's around when I'm transitioning. Like I'm still watching stuff, but for the most part, I'm watching like sitcoms and things like of that nature. More wrestling at this time. I remember that transition.
and then, because what happened to me is then I started switching over to Toonami back in the day on Saturday mornings. So at 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, there was 3 hours of anime that should not have been on. It should not have been on. I mean, you have Outlaw Star, and I don't know if you're familiar, but Outlaw Star pretty much is a half naked chick in a tube of water, sort of in a sexual way in certain ways, and it's on like open television for like 8-year-olds. So
Nah, I've never seen that one.
so
Are you
it was one of
familiar
those
with
where
you ever see Aeon Flux?
I have seen Aeon Flux. I have.
Now, did you see the show? Or because I remember that was also a comic, right? That they turned into. Because I don't know if they rebooted the show, but I remember the show originally came out, man, like mid '90s, late '90s, maybe.
I think I've seen this show because I've seen everything at this point. What I do is that I get drunk and I watch anything and everything that's anime, comics. If there's a fascinating sitcom or something that's intellectual, I will get hammered on my Saturday night and watch a bunch of stuff. I'm also going through in my personal life right now a big, like television Netflix dive and Crunchyroll dive. And I've been taking a break from wrestling purposely on that realm, because I'm going through like a big thing. So I've seen like Aeon Flux and I've seen the show just because it was there and it's very accessible.
Right. So, have you seen Kotoru Lives Alone
I
on
don't think
Netflix?
I've seen that one. I don't think I've seen that one.
I just binge watched that one probably about a week or two ago. That was actually a lot better than I expected. It's pretty mind blowing out. It makes you think.
Yeah, I just saw in an anime. I just saw a Darwin game, and that's a death anime series, and that was fascinating. I've seen also Classrooms of the Elite, and that's like playing chess with people, and that was deep. And there's a second season coming, I think, this summer, and that was a deep one. That was very deep. But then again, I'm also in the middle of watching Dragon Ball. So this is how I go. I go from having a very elite position to having a show that has like a pun every 5 seconds.
I just saw they have I guess a new movie coming out exclusively in Japan.
For DBT,
Yeah, next summer I believe.
I'm pretty sure it'll eventually get over to the States. There's too much money for it not to,
Oh
but
yeah. But yeah, I have to. Maybe it was a video game. I will have to relook at that. But yeah, they were saying that more than likely it was gonna come over here too. But it was supposed to be. It was gonna start exclusively in Japan first.
there's a lot of interesting stuff that's actually going on right now, where Obviously, Sony bought Funimation for 100 million, and then they bought Crunchyroll for 1.175 billion, and then AMC Networks bought HD Dive for an undisclosed amount of money. But it gets complicated because HBO Max has all these Dragon Ball Z movies. They have all of these other top movies on there that are anime for a limited time. And so it's getting very interesting how fast things come over to the States, how fast they actually get released. And it's fascinating. And I don't know how it works with like Disney, where if something comes out in Disney, I don't know how fast it comes out in Japan. Because stage, I mean, when they're dubbing an anime, it takes about 3 to 4 weeks now to dub an episode. So while they're on episode 4 in the subtitled version, that's when the first episode comes out on that dubbed with all the voice actors. So if you don't want the subtitles, you're 4 weeks out, which is super fast. It used to be 2 years. It used to be 2 years, which is crazy. So it's weird, but we digressed. I'm actually very curious about your toy collection and your action figure collection, more so than anything else as well, because you have a bunch of them. I know you have some Batman stuff, and I think you have sort of Batman the animated series. You have Batman without his cowl on. You have Catwoman, and you have Mr. Freeze. And, got all the good stuff.
You can see here. Show you there.
A couple of those statues. I don't know who that red one is. Who's that red guy?
Jushin Thunder Liger.
Yeah, I know. I was making a joke.
I know.
But I just like how like how he's just right in the Batman section. So and I like the Hot Wheels because I'm a Hot Wheels collector. So what is this like for you? Because toy collecting is huge right now. You're muted.
I'm sorry. Yes, it's getting more expensive by the day, it seems.
So obviously, what even going further into that, I collect certain toys. I'm a big Pop Funko collector. I'm also somewhat of, I'm a comic collector as well. And what is this like? Because toys have evolved dramatically at this point, where we're now entering this stage of almost customized action figures. We're entering the stage of also every toy and every action figure is now almost a limited edition. Even if you go into, Walmart, Kmart, go to your comic shop, they used to be printed in the hundreds of millions by nature, and now they're not produced that way at all. I mean, if a toy has a 30,000, action figure print run, that's a high end thing. And I have a friend, Tom Hutchinson, who just has an indie comic. He just produced a 500 print run of his action figure. I know somebody else who just produced even a made to order print run of Cherry Pop, which is an adult comic that's been around for like 30 years. So what is this like for you? Because you have a lot of these action figures and they're well sought after.
Yeah, like you said, it is getting a little harder now to collect. Like you said, now they're doing a lot more store exclusives and like online exclusives and con exclusives. So to me, it takes a little bit of the fun out of it. And then also with like people reselling and like going to the stores and buying them all up just to resell it for higher prices. That kind of takes the fun out of it to me too. Well, for me too. So like I try and make my circle as small as possible. As far as like, I try not to be collecting everything that comes out. So like I said, that's why I just do X-Men right now when it comes to Marvel. I used to do the whole MCU, but like I said, that's starting to get out of hand too, with figures coming out for every movie and different variations and different costumes, and you only have so much room.
Do you also feel that there also gets to a point where they're not inventing the wheel again anymore, and they're not really creating a new action figure, or they're just lazily recycling? because I'm a Pop Funko collector, and I feel that they have 15 Jean Greys. Just to use X-Men as an example, and I don't need all 15. And even if it's a special edition, it gets old rather quickly. And I feel like, okay, you put her in a blue suit, not a green suit. You really haven't broken a new mold per se.
Right.
If you make her into a diamond version, you just added glitter onto her. You didn't change her outer appearance. And while it is nice to look at, you're not really changing the game. It's different if she's shooting a fireball out of her hand, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah.
But even still, there also has to be something. So do you feel like that's also happening? Because I'm not as big of an action figure guy as you are. Obviously, I collect certain statues, and I used to collect a lot of statues. But also, after a while, I find that this stuff gets boring, and it's also almost repeating itself. If that makes any sense.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't know if you collect those WWE action figures, but even with those WWE action figures, it's repeating itself at this point.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually on my way out of wrestling action figures. I'm actually those are the ones I'm starting to sell off first. Because yeah, like you said, they're just getting out of hand. With Funko Pops, it's probably a little different than action figures. Probably not the same. And it's funny that you mentioned that. I actually got one of my proud collections right now. I got the entire 1992 USA Dream Team men's basketball team in Funko Pop form. Michael Jordan and everything. So that was a good accomplishment I was happy about. But with action figures, man, they're actually getting a lot more detailed and a lot more accessories come with the figures. And now this is like super nerdy talk right here now, but like now Hasbro's doing like double jointed elbows and knees on all of their figures coming out, not just some of them. So that gives them a lot more posability for like fake photographers out there. So there is that, but like I said, it's just with the whole like the limited editions and like you said, there is some where they're just basically using the same molds and just repaints and stuff like that. But I mean, there's usually you don't have to. Those are usually the ones that are readily accessible and you can easily ignore them if you want to. But it's usually the good ones that are like the exclusives that are hard to find.
Yeah, no, again, I am not in this sector for a reason. I used to be a big Pop Funko collector, and I made good money on reselling Pop Funkos. And again, it's the ones that are the exclusives that are hard to find, and it's also the ones that nobody wanted that then become the expensive ones because it's kind of like, oh man, I bought three Carnages, right before back in like 2017, and I bought another one for $7. So I bought two at full price, and then I bought one for seven, and then I sold all
Right.
three of them for 60 a piece. So, but again, it went down before it went up because
And
everybody's like, oh man, I now want this stuff. And it's just super weird. And Pokemon is a good example of that too, where people really like the Pokemon stuff and they're like, oh man, this is hard to get. And the stuff that sells out is what people want.
it's funny, like you said that when Marvel Legends had multiple man release, I remember I got three of them, and I remember thinking like, I think shouldn't everybody be getting more than just one multiple man? I mean, like to display of you to show off his power, you need more than one. Plus, he comes with three heads for a reason. So I remember he went down to clearance for like $5. You could find them at some places. Then once he was sold out, now I believe he's going for like $50 brand new in the package. Like even on resale, you can get I think it's like 30-35 bucks for them open.
It's such a weird thing. And again, I don't play in action figures because I don't know action figures well enough at this point. But it's the idea that I know that there's people want their toys. I am eyeing a particular action figure. I'm eyeing a Jill Valentine from Resident Evil.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, but that one is like a $250 action figure open, which is crazy because nobody wants to get rid of it. That's the problem, right? Nobody
Right.
wants to get rid of this type of stuff, and nobody says, "Hey, I want to surrender my toys." And I don't blame them because let's be realistic. I mean, I'm obviously 29, and so I don't have a family yet, but I'm getting to the point where for the next 2 years, I'm not going to be starting a family. I don't have many major bills. So all this stuff of spending real money on toys, I'm the perfect clientele for it.
Yep.
Even people who are 2 years younger are now starting to get money. And so now they can go spend 300, 450 bucks on a toy. And that's kind of where it is. But then you get to your age and well, you start having major bills like a mortgage, or you start having a family, and it's kind of like you might not be able to spend $450 on an action figure without somebody killing you in your house.
Not only, I mean, there's that, there's budgeting, there's also too. I'm a big firm believer in, you can always resell old stuff to go towards new stuff. So I mean, I was always big on that. Basically, I don't have to take money out of my real accounts to pay for something new, and I could just look at something I've been not appreciating or somebody else would appreciate more than I would, sell that off to pay for something new that I would appreciate a lot more.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. I do it slightly different, where I run a business and it's a closed fund.
Hmm.
So I buy and sell a lot of comics on eBay, and what I do is that I'll buy a book for $20, I'll sell it for 60. I then take after eBay fees, which are 13% shipping, I wind up with maybe $35.
I hate
Um,
that new eBay tax they added on there.
it's 13%. It's been 13%. A 1099K, nobody knows what the hell that is.
Hmm.
Yeah, everybody is confused on it.
Right.
And that is not necessarily Democrat Republican problems. That is nobody has any idea what that actually means,
Right.
and how to suffice it. It is a disaster, and it is going to be insane come next year. January of 2023 is going to be a headache, and people are going to be calling their Congress people's offices belligerently. It's coming because nobody knows how to deal with this. No accountant knows how to deal with it either. But what I do is that if I sell a book for 60, I get $11 in shipping, brings it up to 71. eBay takes 13% off of it, minus the 11, and then I minus the cost of the book. I'm left with 30 bucks profit because I buy another item of the same value to sell again. And I take that $30 and I invest it into, uh, asset, whether that's crypto, whether that's stock, whether that's just a savings account that's gaining interest. And that's how I run my business. But it's the same principle of you could always sell old stuff to buy new stuff, and you could always upgrade your stuff. So it's
Right.
a fascinating world. And I think this is something that people need to understand. Or some people buy two items and then they sell the second item to pay for both items,
Right. Yeah.
or pay for 80% of both items, because
Yeah.
now you just got your item for 20%. So if you bought two action figures for 10 bucks and then you sold it for 15, well, or you sold it for $8, you just paid you just took off a huge amount of money off of your bill.
Right. I've always found that's either hit or miss. Like you've got to either know that action figure is definitely going to go up in value, is definitely going to be wanted, because then there's always the chance of getting stuck with it. Because I've gotten stuck with it with one before.
But it depends also what you're investing in. So if an action figure is $10, it's
Hmm.
different than if the action figure is 200.
That's true. That's true.
And so in my world, it's always risk management, and that's the whole thing about everything is that I don't mind taking a $10 risk,
Mhm.
but I'm not going to go take $100 risk if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Have you gotten into the hot toys realm yet?
The what toys?
The hot toys realm.
I don't think so.
Do you know what hot toys are?
I don't. You're gonna have to explain it to me.
They're like 12-inch, highly detailed action figures that start. If they start at, I'll ballpark it at, let's say 250. They start at that, but then that depends on, how popular the figure is, and then the aftermarket price. They can go even just when the retail price, they can go up to like 3, 4, 500 bucks. You got to look into those. I did a little. I tried to do a little buy sell with those, and that's a very high end clientele right there.
I am into certain statues,
Hmm.
and I like really detailed statues. but those statues aren't that expensive. And I just bought some Zenoscope stuff, and the deal they were offering is it was 3 statues plus 2 rare comics. So I understood the real value wasn't in the statues. The statues are 65. It was 50 a statue, so it was already, I guess, $45 off the price of what I could sell the statues for.
Right.
And then following that, the comics, on the other hand, one of them was a limited 100 print run. The other was a limited 75 print run. I sold the 100 print run for 110, and I sold the 75 for 150. So I paid $150 for the statue and the comics, and I sold the comics, and I made a profit on the comics, because I understood what the value was in this. And I think that's the other thing too, because that's a whole different toy as well when there's toys with comics. And that's because sometimes those comics are worth more than the toy.
Right. But I think in the Marvel Select situation, it's different. That's the opposite. The toys are a lot worth more than the general comics that they usually. But then again, I don't know. I think it depends on the comic, though.
Well, one of the things is Spider-Man 2099. That comic with the toy does okay. Obviously, if the entire thing is together and it's in a nice mint box, clearly it's going to be worth more. But if you just have that comic is like a $10 comic. I think the toy was like $12. So but again, I'm not a toy expert. Nobody should ever listen to me about toys. It is not my thing. That is more your thing, clearly. Have you spoken to Anthony Green about this?
Anthony Green.
Alternative Anthony Green?
No, I have not.
He's a huge WWE action figure wrestler. He was August Gray in WWE for a while.
Oh, yeah, I know of him. Yeah, no, I haven't talked to him in years. Yeah, he was a Northeast guy. Yeah.
He is a Northeast guy.
Yeah, the retro guy, right?
What?
He's the retro guy. That was his
yes,
thing.
Yeah. He was retro AG.
Yeah.
He's got like the porn star mustache.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah, good guy. I haven't seen him in years though. Yeah, he's a good guy.
He was in WWE for about 10 months.
Yeah, I remember.
And I don't know why they let him go.
Have you talked to him? Do you talk to him or?
I've spoken to him twice, and I interviewed him twice.
Tell him I said hello next time you talk to him.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. At some point, because he's a big WWE action figure guy, and he has a lot of them. He sells like a bunch of them. And the reason why I only bring this up is because it's like toys.
Yeah.
He keeps them like in the box. It's great.
His personal collection or the ones he sells?
Both.
Okay. Yeah, no, I never knew he was into it either. That's news to me.
Yeah, it's a nerd world. I don't know. I mean, he was. I think I can say because he was selling them live on the internet. I don't think it's a secret, and if it is, well, I outed him. It's not a big deal.
I remember seeing Scott Steiner chew somebody out in the locker room for bringing up toys. I always kept it to myself in locker rooms.
I would ask, but like this is interesting. Then I'm going to let you go because I know you got a busy day, and so this is my last question before I give you a chance to promote yourself. What is this like in the locker room?
Oh, now it's a lot. It's a lot more open now. Yeah, I'm talking about this was probably about 15 years ago when I saw Scott Steiner do this. But now it's a lot. Everybody has toys. I mean, but a lot of the guys have their own toys now, so it's hard for them to make fun or to mock somebody for buying toys when you have your own that you want people to buy.
Because the reason why I ask this is because it's a little bit. I would imagine it's weird that okay, I have my own action figure, but I'm also a super mark, and especially on the indies because guys come in and out of WWE. Now, guys come out of AEW, and that's going to happen a lot more in the next, 4 or 5 years.
Especially like what you said with the custom guys that do custom figures that for like guys on the indies and that don't have like toy licenses and stuff like that.
And also, what's going to probably happen sooner rather than later is that some guy and some wrestler's going to say, "Look, I'm going to go buy my own toys." And if you have a big enough following, I mean, I'm thinking Warhorse is a good example of this. Or if Orange Cassidy didn't sign, maybe Orange Cassidy could have done it. but all of a sudden, they could run a Kickstarter and you could run a 500 print run of your own action figure. And while you're not going to be able to get it into Walmart or Kmart or, I don't know, or Target, the idea is that you can still sell a lot of them online.
Well, that's basically like what Cardona does, right? Matt Cardona and his boy Myers, the
Yeah, Kurt
major.
Hawkins.
Yeah, those guys. Basically, what they do, because I know they have a deal with Super Seven. They get toys through there, and then I think they have one with Cella Toys, maybe. I'm not sure of the company names, but I think they have a couple deals with a couple independent toy companies that put out action figures. And then I heard also that Greg Gagne has recently got like a toy licensing deal with somebody to put out some Legends toys pretty soon. So that's coming out pretty soon. I'm curious on the quality of those.
Because it's not as hard as people think it is.
No,
I mean,
especially with 3D printers these days.
it's the idea that, again, my friend Tom Hutchinson just did a Critter action figure, and he just did, I think, like $37,000 on Kickstarter with doing it, and there's only a 500 print run. And again, if you bought the 2-pack, it came with 2 comics. I just have no money and I'm broke. Otherwise, I would have been all over it because it would have been a good investment, I feel. Because people who want this and they're going to want it, and you leave it in the box, and then the 2 comics you sell because they're limited to like 150 print runs, the 2 comics, and all of a sudden there you go. And that's the whole thing, is that a lot of this stuff is also now becoming what is known as alternative investing, which is my specialty. But again, that's a whole different discussion for a whole different day. I am teaching a class all about that at some point. October 5th, guys, October 5th. But we would be here for the next 6 hours talking about that. But obviously, I do appreciate you coming on, and I don't want to keep you from doing what you got to do. And I don't think you're going to mind me saying what you're going to do is that you're volunteering at the VA today. And so obviously, though, I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. You got a lot of stuff going on. I have your Pro Wrestling Tees link up above, as well as where can people find you, bother you, hit you up, book you. If they want some from you, where can they order it? If I don't know what else you got. I don't know if you're selling your action figures and people want to take your collection off your hand. Anything of that nature, where could people hit you up with all that stuff and more and support you and all that fun stuff?
All right, everything as far as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, Airborne Alex Anthony. Find me on there, ProWrestlingTees.com. Airborne Alex Anthony, I'm on there. Absolutely, I'm taking offers on action figures. I got WWE and a couple Marvel ones. So shoot me a message on, like I said, on Facebook or Instagram. I'm on those 2 primarily. And anything else, any messages, like I said, shoot me on there. Booking inquiries, you can find me on mostly Facebook or Instagram.
And then obviously, I'm going to just keep saying it, independent wrestlers, you need to support them. So when they're actually at shows, you should go see them and buy tickets to watch them wrestle. If you can't make it to the show, but it's live streaming on a service like Fight or IWTV, or it's on YouTube or something like that, you should be watching and tweeting about it. It goes a long way. Again, following people on social media is massively helpful. Buying people's shirts, T-shirts, prints, anything of that nature. Also, if you're looking for action figures, obviously, Airborne Alex Anthony's got a bunch of them, and I'm sure some of them are not for sale. But if it is for sale, I'm sure a deal could be worked out.
Absolutely.
Very important in that regard. As far as I'm concerned, obviously, I do have my T-shirt. It is Making Fun of Gundam, Taco Bell. It's a cool shirt. You can get it in any size, 16 colors. Again, you could also get it in a mini skirt. I also have this up on my eBay store, which is a metal card from my Kickstarter. And I have this one, and she is very well endowed. But I do not want to wake up next to her holding a knife, because she looks like a psycho killer. Both those metal cards are $15. They are metal. And so it's $15 on eBay. This one, I only have 40 left because my business partner has the other bunch and he sold out a bunch of them. And this one, I have 45 of them left. This one's actually limited to 50. And once that one is fully done, I will not be printing any more of those. So that's how you find me. My social media is obviously Pop Anime Comics. So anything in that regard, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, you name it, Twitch, it's all that fun stuff. And I appreciate people supporting me and checking out what I'm doing. And a share goes a long way. And so on that point, I'm not going to keep you here. I know you got to go do some volunteer work, but I'm going to give you the final word.
Oh, that's man. You said it all, brother. Thanks everybody. Thank you for having me again, man. Hope everybody have a great weekend.
And I believe that's a wrap, everybody. Peace.